All right, in our previous video, we had already established that this first conic section in number 24 was going to be an ellipse. I'm going to get rid of that. In order to better see what's going on with the ellipse, I'm going to complete the square. So x squared minus 6x plus blank plus 4, y squared plus 4y plus blank equals negative 21. So this one, half of negative 6 is negative 3. Square it becomes 9. So I'm adding 9 to this side. This one, half of 4 is 2. Square it is 4. So I'm adding 4, but really I'm adding 16 to that side. So here, this is going to simplify down into x minus 3 squared. This is going to be 4 times y plus 2 squared is all equal to negative 21 plus 25 is going to be equal to 4. And then I'm going to divide everything through by 4 so that this ends up being equal to 1. And I end up with x minus 3 squared over 4 plus y plus 2 squared over 4. Over 1, because the 4's will cancel themselves out, is equal to 1. So it says to write its equation in standard form. Check. Find key features. Well, the key features would be the center, which is the HK, so 3 comma negative 2. 3, negative 2. Finding the major vertices. If I could spell that. Major vertices are going to be dependent on A. Well, A is going to be the bigger number, so A is equal to 2. And we're going 2 along the x-axis in either direction. So my major vertices end up being 5 comma negative 2 and 1 comma negative 2. The minor vertices are going to be based off of the B value, which is 1. So starting at my center, I'm going to go up 1, down 1. That leaves me at 3, negative 1, and 3, negative 3. And then the last thing would be to find the foci. So the foci are based off of your C value. And remember that for an ellipse, a squared minus b squared is equal to c squared. So I'm going to have 4 minus 1 is equal to c squared. So c equals the square root of 3. So I'm going to go over the square root of 3 and backwards the square root of 3. So that becomes the point 3 plus root 3. So I was moving along the x-axis, so that's one that's going to change. And then I still have my y value of negative 2, and 3 minus root 3 with a y value of negative 2. Very last thing then is to actually draw in that ellipse. All right, second one we already established was a parabola. So I'm going to get rid of this. And so a parabola, I'm going to isolate the squared term. So I'm going to have y squared minus 4y plus blank equals 4x. So I'm going to take half of negative 4, which is negative 2, and square it. I'm going to add 4 here and add 4 here. So this will become y minus 2 squared, and this will become 4 times x plus 1. So key features or things to identify is the fact that we are opening to the right because we have a positive y squared. So I'm going to find my vertex first. Vertex is going to be my h and k, so negative 1, comma 2. Negative 1, 2. Then I got to find my p value, so 4p is equal to this leading coefficient. So 4p is equal to 4, which means that p is equal to 1. So I'm going to start at my focus, and because I said I was opening to the right, opens right, I'm going to move 1 to the right, that becomes my focus, and I'm going to move 1 back, and that becomes my directrix. So my focus is at the point 0, 2. My directrix is the equation x equals negative 2. Then my axis of symmetry is going to end up being y equals 2, because that would be the one that goes through your parabola. The last thing then is figuring out your focal length. the length of the focal chord. So the length should be 4. So from here I would need to go up 2 and down 2 to make a total distance of 4. And that ultimately is going to create that opening for my parabola. All right, number 26 we said was a hyperbola. So again, to start, I'm going to start looking at how to complete the square on these. So I'm going to have 4y squared plus, I should take out that 4. 4y squared plus 6y plus blank minus x squared plus minus 4x. Ooh, that's going to turn plus because I'm going to take out the negative sign. Plus blank equals negative 16. So completing the square here, half of 6 is 3, square it is 9, but I really added 36. And take half of 4 is 2, square it is 4, but I really subtracted 4. So on this one, I'm going to get 4y plus 3 squared, and on this one, I'm going to get minus x plus 2 squared equals negative 16 minus 4 is negative 20, plus 36 is going to be 16. So I want to divide everything through by that 16, so that I'm equal to 1. So ultimately I'm going to have y plus 3 squared over 4, because the 4 and the 16, minus just x plus 2 squared over 16, because this was a 1 and a 16, will all be equal to 1. So there's my equation in standard form. My center of my hyperbola will still be at HK. So negative 2, negative 3. I'm going to identify my vertices. So my A value is equal to 2. Remember, A is the one that goes first because it's the positive one or the bigger one when you think about positive or negative direction. So A is going to be equal to 2, and I'm going up and down. So up 2 and down 2. So that creates negative 2 comma negative 1. And I just noticed that my answer key is wrong, so hopefully on number 26 you're following along with the video, and not the answer key. Negative 2 and then negative 5. There are my vertices. The foci or foci, as some teachers would say, is going to be based off of c. So we know that a squared plus b squared equals c squared in a hyperbola. So we've got 4 plus 16 equals c squared. So c is equal to the square root of 20, which is 2 root 5. So I'm at negative 2, negative 3, and I'm going to add 2 root 5. So negative 2 comma negative 3 plus 2 root 5, and negative 2 comma negative 3 minus 2 root 5. So 2 root 5 square root of 20, somewhere a little bit more than 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and a little bit more. And we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and a little bit more. You can get some better decimal approximations if you use your calculator. The last thing then is to help finish out drawing the box. So we can call them minor vertices, but we also just help to graph the shape. But it will be based off of B, which is equal to 4. So from here I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That doesn't really create any sort of important point for us, other than we're going to need it to find the slopes of our asymptotes and help create the shape of this box. So thinking about this, to draw in, here are my asymptotes connecting through the center and to the opposite corners. And then my hyperbola is opening north-south or up and down because of the y squared being first. So the last thing then is to find the equation of the asymptotes. That's a Q, which is going to be y minus my center point, which was a y value of 3, so y plus 3 equals, I'll deal with my slope in just a second, this will be x plus 2. So my slope, I can count it, was up 2 over 1, 2, 3, 4. which is really plus or minus 1/2, which you can also get by taking your A value divided by your B value, because that's how much you would have counted up and over. So again, I apologize, there's a mistake on the key. Fix it from this video and ignore the one that's written in my handwriting. All right, last one for these 4, which is a circle. Circle should hopefully go pretty quick for you. So I'm going to take out the 4. I'm left with x squared minus not 3. I'm just left with x squared. Oh, interesting. Center are going to be partly at 0. Plus 4, this will be y squared minus 3y plus blank equals negative 15. So I'm going to go ahead and divide everything through by this 4. So I have x squared plus y squared minus 3y plus blank equals negative 15 divided by 4 is 3 3/4. I'm going to leave it like that, just so it's a little bit easier to see. Actually, no. We'll leave it as negative 15/4. Okay, so now I'm going to take half of my b value and square it. That's going to be 9/4. When I add 9/4 here, I end up with negative 6/4, which can't be the length of a radius. Guys, I'm sorry again, I think Mrs. Logus and I made a mistake. This is what happens when you have to come up with new conic sections that are hard to write equations of. Scratch that problem, and I will inform Mrs. Logus shortly. Go ahead and ignore 27 on your answer key also. That's where we're at right now. Let's go ahead and just make this a plus 2. So this will be minus 2 when we go here. So now when I add, this is negative 1/2 it will have been, because I would have divided by 4. X squared, y minus 3/2 squared, and I would have added 9/4. So this then would have been, if I'm trying to get to fourths, this would have been negative 2/4 plus 9/4, which is actually equal to 7/4, and now I have something that can actually be a radius, y minus 3/2 squared. So the center is going to be at 0, 3/2. The radius is going to be equal to the square root of 7 over 2, because if you take the square root of 7 and the square root of 4, respectively. So our center is at 0, 1.5. Radius being the square root of 7 over 2, it's going to be slightly bigger than 1, because the square root of 4 is 2, square root of 9 is 3, so slightly bigger than 1, slightly bigger than 1, slightly bigger than 1, and slightly bigger than 1. There's our itty-bitty circle. And again, I apologize, trying to write your own conic sections kind of on the spot. It's not always easy, because you got to get all the numbers to shake out. So again, fix your answer key on number 26. The center was wrong, right? The center was flip-flopped on the answer key. And on number 27, change this to a plus 2.